Greetings, this is the Timeshare Traveler. Today is episode 213. Can't believe it. Tips for Managing Abound is our Marriott Vacation Club. So the overview is reservation tips. I'll go through a few of those. Managing Abound and Vistana. So that's sort of having the Marriott Vacations Vistana for those of you who have both, like I do. And then I want to talk about Bonvoy benefits, which I think is a hidden gem in owning that, and one of the great things about the Marriott Vacation Club. And then I use a lot of short stays with Marriott Vacation Club because actually you can do one-night stays, and that's really take advantage of that. And lastly, I'll talk about their exchange, which is using Interval. Before I dive into the details, though, give me about 28 seconds. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my channel, and I'll be right back. Hi, this is Cliff, and I'm the Timeshare Traveler. Welcome to my channel. The purpose of my channel is to educate those who love traveling in timeshares. I've been an owner for 15 plus years at timeshare ownership. I have elite ownership with Marriott, Hilton, and Worldmark. I have published over 100 timeshare video reviews, and I've published over 95 timeshare tips. I can be found on Facebook at Timeshare Trav, at Twitter, Timeshare Trav, and on the web at www.timesharetraveler.com. Okay, I'm back. Let's talk about reservation tips. The first tip I would say is look at specials. It's better known as the Marriott Vacation Club Destination Escapes. And they have reduced fees for staying at those. And I always look at those first because you never know if you're going to a place that might have an opportunity, and maybe you can adjust your schedule a little bit. So I always check first. Again, it's a good tip. I've saved quite a few points by doing that. The current listings, and here's a surprise, Maui, which is, again, it's because of the fires in the Lahaina area. And so that means there's not as much, usually it's overbooked, but now it's a great time to go. And honestly, I love hanging out at the Maui location. Thailand, which I think is amazing that you would have a great deal there. Phoenix and Palm Springs and Miami are a little more expected because it's summer and it's hot. So those locations are part of specials, but you might as well look at those as vacations. And when you're planning it, maybe, Palm Springs is actually a nice place to go, and they have great pools in all the locations. So if you're like to do that for your vacation, that's a good chance. And again, I always look at that just first. I also want to talk about my favorite locations, and I'm a little bit on the frugal traveler, and I tend to stay in studios when I can. The parlor is another word for studio. It's where the kitchen portion of it is not really, it's a partial kitchen at the Kauai Beach Club, and here's why. It's 1,000 points for a week, and that's the ballpark. Yeah, I think you can go a little bit above that, particularly if you do the ocean view. But you got this amazing pool, and you're right on the beach. And actually, that one's also great because if you fly into Kauai, you actually get a free shuttle ride to it. So you don't necessarily have to get a car, or you can just do Ubers locally. It's a short Uber drive to Costco to get your food, and they have grills. So it's one of my favorite when I go to Kauai and I want to use my Marriott ABOUND. My other one is the Marriott Grand Residence in Tahoe, and it's roughly $11.75. It goes up or down a little bit depending on the season. The studio, because it has a full kitchen and a queen size bed, and the bed is actually kind of separated like a separate room. It's more of a divider than a room, pure room. So I find it pretty close to a one bedroom, and it has all the cooking features. So it's 1,200 points roughly for a week. So those are my favorites. Again, I'm probably the frugal traveler, but that allows me to stretch my points a little further, and then I can save like a 2-bedroom for my family trip then that way. Again, the other thing I really like is the 13-month window, which means at that point pretty much everything's available. That's not a guarantee, but pretty good actually. So it's one of the nice things about the program. It is an expensive program, but at least you have availability if you're willing to plan. The other thing is I haven't used them yet, but they're on my bucket list. Lower Point international locations, Bali and Thailand being 2 of them compared to domestic locations. So if you want to stretch your points, hey, why save some money on your maintenance fees equivalents by turning it into airfare. So when you look at the total cost, sometimes it might actually be cheaper to go to Bali, or at least equal to Bali, when you look at the costs of going to, like, say, Hawaii, which might have twice the point costs, and that might really effectively cover the airfare. So it's just something to consider, something on my mind for sure. And then my last reservation tip is always have an encore package. Here's my basic message. If you own a timeshare, you're going to be invited to presentations, and I got over that. That's part of owning timeshares. So if I'm going to get a timeshare presentation anyway, I might as well get rewarded for it. So you buy them for $199, they're way below the cost of the maintenance to actually do the same vacation. And you get somewhere between 30 and 60,000 Bonvoy points for sales presentations. So I might as well at least get the bonus points and the low cost package if I'm going to have it's just part of owning a timeshare. And by the way, I don't mind getting the owner updates, so it's not necessarily bad. And I've even done, I think it's a 5-night stay, but in Hawaii, in Princeville, was $12.99. Come on, get a studio. It has burners, stovetop burners, and everything. And I always have an active encore because I always want to have a price lock in case I do want to upgrade. And it also, again, it's an additional vacation for below maintenance costs, and you get the Bonvoy incentives. So to me, I'm always active doing that. Here's a really short, quick section on managing Abound in Vistana. It's pretty straightforward. I leverage the rules of Vistana, and I look at priority booking of collection. I own the Sheraton collection versus the Westin collection. And I plan out my vacation. If I'm going to be using a week, my favorite being the Sheraton Kauai. I book that with Vistana. Decide which program is better. So I've used it basically to book the Sheraton Kauai or even the Westin Princeville, which seems to be relatively available in the Vistana side and is a little cheaper points-wise than using the Marriott. And then I transfer to Marriott when I plan to do more weekend stays, because I love the Marriott, sort of like I do Thursday through Saturday. So I get my work allows me to work remote on Friday, so it's a little bit lower since I'm using Thursday and Friday night instead of Friday and Saturday night, and it's a little less traffic getting back and forth. So I do a lot of weekend stays. When I'm going to do that, then I'm going to move everything over to the Marriott side, and I do like some of the Marriott resorts. I mentioned that earlier in the booking, sort of the reservation slide. Anyway, that's a quick update on the Marriott ABOUND in Vistana. Okay, Bonvoy benefits. I really like the Bonvoy program. I have 2 credit cards. I have one from the old SPG, so I have 2 of them, and I each get 1 free night, which is 35,000 points for each card. So you can actually use that. Then I can use that for 2 nights at a timeshare, and I can sort of top up. So typically it's more than 35,000 points for a night in a timeshare, but you can take your Bonvoy points plus the 35,000 for the credit card. And then again, it's a lot cheaper than actually using my points because even the card fees are $99, so it's 35,000 points for $99 is a really good deal. So having the cards, it's definitely been very good for me. So anyway, I pay all my maintenance fees with my credit card, and I earn 7 points per dollar. That adds up. I've got roughly $4,000 in maintenance, so that's 28,000 Bonvoy points. That's good for typically a night. So just by using the credit card to cover my fees. Earn points for presentations. Again, it's a theme probably I'll bring up over and over, but if you own a timeshare, you're going to get owner updates, and they can be very valuable. And so I always take the points because it's good for a free night stay at the, maybe I get 1 extra free night per owner update, and that's worth it to me. You're going to be doing them anyway. I mean, you can always say no, but it's just part of being in a timeshare, so I take advantage of that. And again, the other thing I do is I call it Timeshare Light. If you really consider all the locations where the residence inns are, for example, they all have kitchens, then booking hotels and using those points with a residence inn, I call it Timeshare Light, but it's really nice having a nice vacation in many locations as a result of having done the timeshare presentations and using your credit card. So I find the Bonvoy benefits is a great add, particularly when you own timeshares. They're good as well without it, but I find because I own timeshare, it's an added benefit. It's a double positive. But I have to say my favorite thing about booking Marriott is booking the short stays. In Vistana, ABOUND, Marriott is booking 1 night. Nothing like a Saturday night in San Francisco Ritz-Carlton. It is so elegant. Amazing luxury. It's right in the city. They have a driver and a car. Now it's shared, so you never know for sure if you can get it. But if you call down, usually in advance, you can get it. And they have a morning cup of French press coffee, complimentary. I mean, and you tip the people, but it's complimentary, and that's really a nice thing. And it's just got a great lounge up on I think it's the 13th floor. I can't remember which floor it's on. But anyway, my other favorite for booking is I'll do a Thursday through Saturday in Lake Tahoe, walking distance to casinos. If you're a skier, it's literally right out the door. So it's a very central location that they have, and those are my examples, my two examples of booking short stays. But I find that to be a fantastic option. And Marriott is expensive, but you can really just use it more as a short stay, and I find that fantastic use. Last but not least is using interval, and I use it for last minute stays off peak. 1 week is typically less than $400. You can also use the free certificates, and I was able to look at one that was like less than $300 actually. And I was able to get the same locations. I was in Palm Springs or Phoenix here in the summer, so maybe it's a little hot, but it's a great location and it's a great cost. So just something to look at if you need to be there anyway, you want to be there, you have family there and you're visiting, and you can stay in a luxury place, why not? So the other thing I use Interval for is I can use my WorldMark points, and you can book the same sort of off-peak resorts, but sometimes you get some of the better ones. And you can book using WorldMark credits. It's actually cheaper than using Marriott credits, typically off-peak. But an example, Palm Springs was 4,000 credits and about $300. So for those of you who don't know about the WorldMark credits, that's about $360. For $660, I can get a week in a 2-bedroom in Palm Springs, which I would consider a good deal. Anyway, hope you liked this video on my tips for using Marriott Abound. Don't forget to give it a like, and if you haven't subscribed, don't forget to subscribe.